Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are live. I am very excited about this live today. We are going to be cooking some miso carrots, which are inspired by the film All My Life. We have the two stars of All My Life joining us very shortly, Harry Shum Jr. and Jessica Roth. We are going to cook with them, chat all about the film. We're just gonna wait for Harry to join here. Can you guys hear me okay? I just wanna make sure that the sound is good. Awesome. We are just going to give Harry a little bit to hop on. We have some carrots ready to roast. Nobody worry, I'm gonna post the entire recipe in my feed once, hold on, let's see. Sent to live. Okay, nope, that's not Harry yet. We're just waiting for him. I'm gonna post the entire recipe for these miso carrots in my feed after the live, which I will save down. So if you can't stay for the whole time, no worries. You'll be able to watch the full live whenever is convenient for you. If you have questions for Harry, perhaps you will see them and answer them if you're lucky. We're just gonna wait. This movie is such a wonderful, tear-jerking romance. Oh, Harry's here. Hold on, Harry. I'm just trying to see, did I get a request from you? Harry, can you send me a request to join? I'm not seeing. Oh, there we go. Is it coming through? We both have to fit on the screen, which is the weird thing about lives.
There we are.
Is
Hi,
it working?
Serena.
Hi, I can hear you, but I can't see you yet.
Oh no!
Hold on.
Oh no! Is it?
It
It's
says
the damn Wi-Fi.
connecting. It says connecting, so it's just heightening people's anticipation. Oh, there you are. Hi.
There we go. Okay, there we go.
How are
Connection
you?
made. Good. How are you?
Connection made. Good. Where are you? It looks much nicer than
Um,
it is here.
I'm in the jungle. I don't know, somewhere. No, I'm in my backyard.
I love it.
Yeah,
Welcome.
it's a LA winter, so it's hot and Christmassy. I don't know.
Fair. It's snowing here, so just slightly different. Well, I'm so excited to have you here today. Big fan of All My Life as well. We're gonna do some cooking and some chatting. So first things first, I'm gonna let you, who will obviously do it much better than I can, tell everybody a little bit about the film and your character, if you will, before we start to do some cooking.
Yeah, All My Life is inspired by a true story about this couple who fall in love and get engaged, and shortly after, I play a character named Saul. He was a aspiring chef, incredible chef, but he got diagnosed with a terminal illness, cancer, and then they had to figure out what they were going to do for the rest of the time that they had together. And so their friends banded together and fundraised a bunch of money to get them to have a magical wedding that they will never forget. It's a romantic comedy. It's a romantic drama. I'm sure if you've seen it, there's just a lot of elements that kind of the human condition, human emotions kind of go through. Excuse me. So it's a beautiful film, and it's cool to be here because, Saul loved to cook, loved to take ingredients from different cultures and kind of make it his own, and he just loved to feed people and loved to see people's smile on their face, and that thing that chef wants to see every time you make some food. They want to see you go, yeah. They can't even describe it in words. It's like a lot of ums and uhs.
That's what we're gonna go for
Yes.
today with this. We are actually gonna make miso carrots inspired by a dish that Saul makes in the film. Really simple. I don't know how you would characterize Saul's cooking style, but just from what was shown in the film, I feel like he is not overly fussy, but obviously wants that reaction like all
Yes.
chefs do, but plays with simple flavors and makes things sort of unexpected and cool. There was a lot of different dishes throughout the film that were very unique, but not overly complex, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
no, yeah, definitely. I think it's the, as you know, as a chef, it's a love language, right? Food it's a love language. It's a way to convey love without words and without, gestures. It's just what you're putting into your body. So, I mean, like the miso carrots are in the movie. There's this line that a lot of people have never tried that combination. So,
yes.
that umami flavor with carrots. So I'm excited for you to watch and see you guys make it.
Well, we're going to do just the start here, which is incredibly simple. I'm going to tilt this down so you can see what I'm doing a little bit
Mm.
better. So we have carrots in this bowl here. It's like a pound of carrots that we've sliced on the bias to make them look pretty like this. We've got rainbow carrots here. These are going to get roasted, and then we're going to add a miso glaze. So all we're going to do first is hit these with like 2 teaspoons of light sesame oil. Anybody making this at home, if you don't have sesame oil, avocado oil, even olive oil, but olive oil, you're going to be able to taste that olivey flavor, which we're not really going for here. And then just season it with a tiny bit of salt. And I'm going to get in here with my hands, which are clean, but like I'm a big fan of getting
Yes,
fancy with
get in
things,
there.
right? It's just easier. Like we don't need to be
You can
also
really massage
dirtying.
it in there. Yeah, it's
Yes,
good. You can't do that with a spoon.
we cannot. We're getting these all coated, and then I'm just going to turn these out onto a parchment-lined baking sheet. Again, parchment is for easy cleanup. I'm all about easy cleanup. I don't know, what's your cooking background? Like, how skilled of a chef are you, or home cook, I should say?
I would describe my cooking as I like cooking alone when I like try a recipe for the first like 3 times, because then I when because it's the hardest when you're cooking and it's like, oh my God, I've never tried this recipe. This is gonna be, if this is what we're hinging the night on this. So I'm not that type of cook, like to experiment and try weird things. But my parents used to own a restaurant, so I did a lot of watching. I did some cooking, but more watching. So the fact that I've been able to see the techniques, the cutting techniques through
Yeah.
them, really helped. So I don't have fingers flying around and stuff. So
Thank
that's
God.
very helpful. Yeah.
I'm going to pop these into a 425-degree oven so we can get those going. They're just going to roast for like 20-ish minutes until they're nice and soft, and then we're going to add a glaze. I think sometimes people try to add all of their flavors at the beginning of like roasting a vegetable or something, and then something like a glaze that we're going to make has sugar in it. If you're using spices as well, sometimes they can burn if you're, and then also we have to clean the baking sheet after that, which is why we lined it with parchment, just in case.
That's funny because like as a chef, like the cleaning is like you're trying to minimize the cleaning, right? Even the techniques of how you're cooking something, you're like, let me just try and not clean. Yeah.
I would say like I spend 50% of my life doing dishes, so I'm always trying to minimize that. What do you think the hardest part of playing a chef was? Or I mean, you don't have to say there was the hardest part, but was there a challenging element to it?
Because I know I wasn't a line cook, but it was a family-owned restaurant. So when it was busy, you have to multitask. You have to know what dishes are going where, what substitutions or what people need. So there's this level, I think, of almost playing a game in a sense, like an athlete playing a game where you're focused, but you're physically running around the place and trying to dodge people and not get burned. So to try and recreate that element on those scenes where it's not really happening, but you're trying to make it look like you've been cooking for the last like
you're like a
hours.
little bit sweaty.
Yeah, but you're like not too sweaty.
There's
adrenaline
adrenaline
look like
going.
Your sweat is dripping on the food or like that. It's gross. But yeah, so I would say that to recreate that and also like the whole cutting. It's funny because everyone has different ways of cutting. Different techniques. So it's just doing it the way that the trainers kind of taught me, and also my little influence, and I'm sure chefs will have different ideas of what that looks like. It's like watching doctors and seeing like that's not how I would do it.
But you actually had like a trainer helping you with knife skills and things like that?
Yeah. We definitely had that. And we did some cutting sessions and realizing how many things I did right and how many things I did wrong that I carried over. Now I'm like, oh yeah, I won't do that again, because that's why I kept cutting my fingers before.
I mean, it's definitely humbling. Even after a decade, like in the food business, there are still techniques that you pick up and you're like, wow, I've been doing that wrong for a very long time.
Yeah.
And you just sort of are like, no, it's fine.
You
Don't take notice.
quietly go
Yeah.
like, no, yeah, I've been
Creep
doing this
out.
for,
Yeah.
yeah,
We
totally.
all
That's
know
the right
that.
way.
Well, we're gonna whip up a quick glaze for these carrots
Mm.
while they're in the oven. Everybody at home, this is a really actually simple recipe. The only mildly obscure ingredient is the miso. So this is white miso paste, which is like a little bit sweeter. Miso paste is just a fermented soybean paste, and it has that great umami flavor that we were talking
So
about
good.
before. So we have a tablespoon and a half of that in there, and then we're also gonna add a tablespoon of this light sesame oil. Make your oil substitutions if you need to. I think what was like kind of cool about watching Saul to do his cooking at home and stuff is like it's a very sort of personal process, and it's iterative. So like you can be working with, whatever you happen to have on hand and then, some nights you're microwaving pizza like Jen did. So
Yeah.
it's all a balance.
It's all about
Um,
variety, baby.
It's all variety. And then we're adding a tablespoon of rice vinegar so that we can get some acidity in there. You could also use lime juice if you want. We just want to brighten things up a bit. And a tablespoon of pure maple syrup. This is adding our
Ooh,
sweetness.
that's nice.
And you could also use brown sugar if you want. Please use, this is like the only time I would be remotely like, snobby about an ingredient, but like don't use an Aunt Jemima or something here just because or like what's the other one, the log cabin one, because they're so thick and they have like
Yeah.
so much sugar in them.
Yeah, you get the real maple syrup that's just straight up maple syrup instead of added sugar.
Exactly. Yes, precisely. See, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then we have 2 scallions here. So we're going to use the whole scallion. People always get confused, I find, with like when to use the white and the light green parts versus the dark green parts. And this is definitely one of those things that you could pretend that you always knew, even if you didn't. But like all of the onion flavor is in the white and light green parts, and then these darker parts are much more mild. So I like to like garnish things with these dark green parts. They're sprinkled. They look pretty. We're going to do that later. And we're going to use these white and light green parts just to add some oniony flavor into the mix. So I'm just going to go in here with my knife and finely chop this little white and light green part. And then you want to finely chop it again once you get through all of that. Just sort of push it together and run your knife back and forth through it. And I'm sure this is stuff that you were forced to practice, is like how fast can you make your knife look? I feel like I'm under pressure. Like people want to see really
I know, they always
fast
want to see like
skills.
the quickness and like throwing the ingredients up and then slicing it halfway. You're like,
Yeah.
that doesn't happen in a kitchen.
It does not happen.
That's like on Ratatouille or something.
Yes, I went to Cordon Bleu, and for some reason, people just remember Julie and Julia. You know that? Did you ever see
Oh
that
yes,
movie?
yeah.
And so they always want to ask me to like very finely chop a mountain of onions, and I was like, I can't do that. And we're just gonna give this a really quick whisk. This is all that's in the glaze that's gonna go on our carrots in a bit. What do you think? Do you like, given that we're going into the holidays now, are you going to be in charge of any cooking? And do you think you've like mastered some more tips and tricks, or at least feel more confident since playing a chef? Not pretending, because you do have a good culinary background.
Yeah, what I've learned, this is what I've learned, and this is specifically with like certain sauces that you want to caramelize. Like if you're, say, I'm cooking like, I don't know, like fried rice or making a certain sauce with like vegetables, what I learned is that, instead of pouring like certain sauces, like soy sauce or whatever, directly onto the vegetable or noodles or whatever, it's putting it around it so it sears and it caramelizes, and then you mix it in, which I used to never do. I used to never do that, and that's kind of what I learned from one of the trainers, and that just changes the flavor of whatever you're cooking. Caramelizing it, yeah.
Now that you also mentioned the soy sauce, I'm like, I completely forgot the soy sauce. We're going to add a teaspoon of soy sauce as well, because we do want extra savory flair in here. But were you making pad thai yesterday? I saw you
I
cooking
was.
something. That looked amazing.
Yeah,
And
that
that
was
is
really good.
not
The
an
first
easy
time I ever
thing.
did that.
It's not an easy thing to pull off. You made it look rather effortless, but
Oh, thank you.
it's a difficult dish.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're dealing with like high heat and then like the and then pushing things aside, and I mean, I never done it that way where you put the eggs on the bottom and then you put
Yeah,
the noodles on top, so as a different way of cooking instead of just frying the egg. So it's really cool, and that's what I always say. Even if you don't like it a certain ingredient like broccoli or whatever, there's like hundreds of ways to cook it that you might like it, and it's not really about the broccoli; it's about how you cook it, right?
totally. And speaking like these carrots, I have a swap out
Speaking
because
of carrots, yeah.
magic
Oh,
of Instagram
wow!
Live.
I didn't even see you take it
Um,
out.
I yeah, you did. These are like nice and soft now. They're not super cooked through because like we want them to. They're gonna go back in the oven with the glaze on them, but they are on the more tender side. And what we do is just pour this glaze. This is also why we have the parchment directly
Mm.
onto the carrots. And I know people have been joining throughout this. So what we're making is miso carrots inspired by a dish that Saul makes in All My Life. And we're just tossing all of this together. And it's not going to look pretty right now, and that's absolutely fine. This is sort of an ugly delicious moment. But we just get all of these coated before they go back in the oven. And I'm all about, like, this is going to serve 2 people, which I think is pretty helpful these days. Like, we don't want to be cooking dishes for 8 to 10 people always. But this is easily doubled or tripled if you are, feeding a family or feeding a larger crowd. And then once these are all coated, they go back in the oven for like 10-ish more minutes. And sadly, I don't think that you're going to see the final product because
Yeah,
we
y'all
have to
cooking with
talk to
y'all cooking with
Jessica.
Jessica. Yes, that's
Yes.
amazing. Yeah, I can't. I wish you could do 3
I
Instagram live. They need to fix
They
that
need
very
that.
soon.
We need a grid. But before you leave us, just out of my own curiosity, like what was your favorite part of the experience of this film? Is there something you're like going to take with you out particularly from this project?
Yeah, I think what's important is to what I learned from Saul and what I've learned from Jen and their relationship is, you're going to have so many highs and lows. And then the lowest of lows, it's also just how you react and what promise you make, not just to each other, but to yourself and enjoying the things that you took for granted before, and just the small little things. I mean, even enjoying a simple taste of a carrot that's, I mean, something like that is, so it's whatever makes you feel good inside. I think from then you can always create those memories and have those that no one can ever take away. So I definitely carry that over into my life.
I love that. That's beautiful, especially at the end of a year like this. I think that's
Yes.
really awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here to do some cooking with me today. It was a
Yes.
pleasure to meet you. I hope you have such happy holidays. We're going to wait for Jessica to come on and finish up some cooking.
Yes. Thank you so much, Serena. And I can smell the miso carrot.
Good.
So
We just need a
I'll be
scratch and
tasting it
sniff
virtually.
option.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much,
Bye.
Harry. Bye. Hello. Okay, we are going to wait for our carrots. We are just waiting for Jess. We're going to get Jessica to join shortly. I'm just waiting to see her request come through. We've got carrots. Oh, there you are, Jessica. I can't, hold on. Can you resend a request? I just want to make sure. Otherwise I'll scroll up and see if I can find it. Well, give me 1 second. Da, 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 da. Okay, hold on. Nope. When did we? Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. This is always trickier than it seems. Sorry, Jessica. We are going to figure this out. before the carrots burn. Let's see. Technical difficulties. Stay with us, everyone. We are live. We just had Harry Shem Jr., star of All My Life. We are trying to get Jessica Roth on here. Hold on, let's see. Nope. Oh, can we do this one? Yes! Amazing. We're connecting. Give us 1 second, everyone. She is coming on.
Yay!
Hi! Technical difficulties in 2020.
Harry is very technologically advanced, and I'm the complete opposite and don't understand phones or Instagram or social media. So it takes me a moment.
Well, we did it. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I was watching. It looks delicious.
Thank you. I wish that it's so wild that like, A, we can have 3 people, but also it makes me really sad because usually at the end of things like this, you would be able to taste it and report back, but it's going to be virtual.
But like Harry said, I can practically smell it, and it smells delicious. So,
well, thank you for being here, everyone. I'm sure you know this is Jessica Roth, a star of All My Life. I'm such a big fan of the film. First of all, I cried for like 89 of the 90 minutes, which
it's good. It's good for that good like ugly cry that you need.
Yeah.
Like the serious, like just purge all of the emotions of 2020. But there are also some like joyful crying moments. But by the end, I looked like I had been hit by a truck by the first time I read the script. So I'm with you.
Everyone, if you need a good happy, sad, cathartic 2020 cry, like this is 100% the film for you. I know, okay, so we're waiting for carrots to glaze. I know that you were not, Jen's character was not the chef in the film.
I was the designated eater. I got to eat everything, which is like the best job, so.
But what is your cooking status? What is your cooking background?
I really love to cook, and luckily my husband and I are very good at cooking different things. I'm actually more of a baker because I love, like I was even on the bread bandwagon before quarantine, but I jumped back on. I love sourdough. I made a killer babka that I had to stop making because it's so delicious, and it's just layers of dough and chocolate and cinnamon sugar, and like what's better than that? But also I can't eat that every day. But I love baking because I love that you get to add so many crazy different ingredients together, and something that looks nothing like what you put in the oven comes out. Like I kind of love the transformation of like wet, soggy dough into a beautiful loaf of bread or cupcakes or banana bread. Like I think it's really fun, though it is a much more exact science. And Eric, my husband, loves to improvise, and I get really nervous about improvisation with baking and cooking.
We are opposites in that way. I'm like the whole like something different might come out. I'm a cook, not a baker, so I'm like something different that's awesome might come out, or something different that's terrible might come out.
Totally. But yeah, I do love cooking. I love my Instapot. We just got a sous vide for our wedding, so that was very exciting. So
you guys are creative. You dabble.
Yeah.
Really important question that I think a lot of people are curious about. Food in films, like there are food stylists involved. There's a lot that goes into styling food for film, and then obviously some of it is not edible.
Yes.
Some of it is. But did you pick up any wild or see any wild food styling tricks on set?
That's such a good question. I mean, they were amazing on this shoot because I'm lactose intolerant and I can't eat shellfish. And because so much of the food in this film was Asian inspired, there would have been a lot of oyster sauce or fish sauce or shrimp powder. And they were incredibly amazing at either making everything kind of dairy free and shellfish free for my safety, or including a plate that like had little signs. It was like Jessica's mouth only, that they would put onto my plate when I was supposed to be like eating and enjoying all of the delicious food. And we were lucky on this set because the food was actually quite good. Like they went out of their way to make it delicious. Sometimes it's really not. Um, but I guess the weirdest food art on set thing I've seen wasn't even on the shoot, but I know that they use like sometimes they use like lard for ice cream, and like they use things for commercials when people aren't eating it. They'll use
Yeah.
totally inedible, bizarre things, which I think is interesting. But the biggest thing I had to worry about is just that we would do 20 takes, and if I took a giant bite of something, I had to do that every single time.
Every single time.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That it's like the food styling and the things like the lard as ice cream is something that's always fascinated me. And like I having written cookbooks, seeing food stylists like paint my food with oil and things like that, you're like, oh wow, but that does look really pretty.
Yeah.
I'm going to grab carrots. You're going to see the carrots for the first time.
Yay!
Out of the oven here, and if I can get them stuck out here. Okay, so you can see they've like blackened a little bit on here. So this is, for anybody who is joining late, these are miso glazed carrots that were inspired by a recipe that Saul makes in All My Life. And these we roasted the carrots and then we made this really simple miso glaze. It was like miso, a little bit of maple syrup, rice vinegar, soy sauce, sesame oil. Threw this on the carrots with scallions, and now they're like roasted and caramelized, and you can sort of see, nobody panic, I basically have no heat sensitivity in my fingers. They have like this sort of caramel literally on the side, and the scallions kind of caramelize as well, which is pretty awesome. So I'm just going to set these aside here for 1 second, and we're going to make these look pretty. I feel like this is like something that everybody can appreciate. I don't know how you feel. I know you're a baker, but like, do you decorate things?
I do. I made recently, after the election, I made a Joe Biden Kamala Harris cake. So that was really fun, and I got to use some decorative icing.
Love that.
So, but I think it's so lovely when you have a moment and you're sharing food with friends for it to also look really beautiful and to kind of add artistic quality in that way as well, because I've definitely eaten things that do not look gorgeous that are delicious, but it's so nice when you're putting something in your mouth and it looks as pretty as it tastes.
I love that. That's actually one thing that I wanted to ask you is like, food is, and Harry said the same thing, it's like food is, a way that people express their love. And I feel like in the film too, like it was such a big part of Saul and Jen's relationship. And I feel like obviously food is a source of comfort and joy for so many of us. Like, do you have favorite, like we're going to the holidays, do you have favorite foods that you're looking forward to making or eating in the next few weeks? No pressure to say these carrots.
No, miso carrots. No, I do though. I mean, it's interesting this year because normally Christmas is very big for my family, and when I would go home, we eat the same thing every single year. One of the dishes which I can't eat because it's oyster stew, which I think is gross anyway, but my whole family eats it and I get to tap out because I'm allergic. But we make like stuffed pears, which also sounds weird and gross, but like raw pears with kind of a dressing on top. And we always
savory or sweet?
The stuffing is savory. It's like a cream cheese filling, but because there are so many amazing dairy-free options, I can partake as well. It's like cream cheese and scallions and celery mixed up, and then with pear and lettuce. I think it's delicious. But because we can't go home because of COVID this year, we're starting our own food traditions. And my husband actually took his first deer this year. So we have like 30 pounds of venison in our freezer, and we're going to make venison stew, which might be our new holiday kind of like special treat.
I love that. Also, 2020, everyone, it is a great year to make new food traditions because like most of us aren't going home. And I mentioned this to Harry, but it's like these carrots serve two, because like we're not trying to make recipes that serve 8, 10, 12 people right now. But this is like a really simple, fun, festive. Also, use rainbow carrots, everyone. It makes it so much prettier.
I love rainbow carrots. Purple carrots are some of my favorites.
They're the best because they have this like beautiful, look at that, like the the color on the inside. Yellow with purple is just lovely. So we're going to finish these up really simply, just some scallions on top. And then also, if you have toasted sesame seeds that you can just toast up in a pan, that's great. I have some black sesame seeds that I'm adding here. If you wanted to add some toasted sesame oil, we're not trying to add a million extra ingredients here, but that would be a really lovely finishing touch here. And they just look really simple, beautiful.
Beautiful.
This full recipe will be in my feed, so don't panic, anyone, if you want to make this at home. But I have one last question for you, if you'll indulge everyone. I asked Harry the same thing, but is there something from this project that you think that you'll take with you, like going forward, or was there like something that really stood out to you from filming that you loved?
You know, there's so much. I heard Harry's answer to this and I was like, oh, that's a good answer. And I do
It was a good answer.
feel that way, that I think that Saul and Jen's story and who they are and who they were as human beings is just so incredibly inspiring. They faced adversity with such bravery and kindness and led with their hearts and with love. And I think that that's something that the world just needs right now. And I know during this time of isolation and quarantine and feeling separated from one another, I've really been trying to remember that all of these tiny moments, even when the world isn't going quite how we think it should, are still moments that shouldn't be taken for granted. That waking up in the morning next to your loved one and snuggling in, or taking your dog on a walk, or getting to do an Instagram live with you and cooking carrots, like all of those moments are what make us who we are and are kind of the pieces that build the tapestry of our lives. And I just feel so lucky that I got to meet so many incredible people in this film, so lucky that I got to be part of telling such a beautiful story. And I hope that next year the world becomes a little bit of a saner place. But even until then, I think there are always silver linings and beautiful moments you can find. And I'm just trying to breathe and be present and remember to appreciate all of those things.
Yeah, I think the presence is definitely something that we could all stand to focus on a little bit more. But that's a beautiful answer. So thank you. I think like everybody really appreciates the reminders to, be grateful and live in the moment. And maybe make some carrots and watch a great movie. So
I'm going to make those carrots and watch it when the movie comes out on December 23rd.
Yes, I was going to tell everyone the recipe for these carrots will be in my feed also. All My Life is in theaters now, but you can stream it starting on December 23rd. So you can make carrots, cozy up, get like 17 boxes of tissues, and treat yourself to a night in. So thank you so much for being here. It was so nice to meet you.
It was so nice to meet you.
This is a happy Friday. Happy weekend.
Friday. Yeah. Happy Friday before Christmas.
Before Christmas.
Yesterday, last day of Hanukkah.
Yes.
New Year's is soon.
It's so soon. Well, thank you. Thank you everyone who popped in to say hi. Happy holidays. Check out All My Life.
Happy holidays. It was so nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye everyone.